Hello, and welcome back to the Love Power Show. Today we have a special guest who's going to talk to us about how they stay in love, but more importantly, how they stay connected.
If they gave me everything, I would give it all away for you. Give it all away. With you, I know I'll be okay. Girl, there ain't nothing I wouldn't do.
My name is David, and this is Betty Scott. We live in Thomasville, Alabama. And I thank God for her every day.
We met in my hometown in Michigan. David was there visiting his sister. So he had a sister who was sick, and he was there checking on her. And he had the other sister wanted us to meet because she thought he deserved somebody like me. So that's how it began. It wasn't the best beginning because I didn't want to meet him.
I didn't want to meet her.
So, yeah, his sister had invited me to come over and have dinner at her house after church one Sunday because she wanted me to meet her brother from Alabama. Well, I didn't know her that well, so I was not too anxious. So I was quite resistant, but, after a whole bunch of resisting and kicking and screaming, I did go. And it was a very nice meeting. We didn't have dinner because I chose a date, trying to avoid any time spent with the brother that I didn't know. I chose a day, the day before he was leaving to go back home. And I knew he was driving and leaving very early in the morning. So I went as late as I could in the evening because I didn't want him to invite me to coffee or invite me to dinner the next day. I wanted to make it where there would be no invitations afterwards. But we talked and the conversation flowed. We just talked about ourselves and our lives a bit, and it went real well. And then I went home. And we exchanged phone numbers. And I went home and didn't think much more about it or him. And he was pretty much the same way, but I'll let you tell your side. And about a week later, I think it was, and he called me. And from that, and he started out, he would call me on his, was it your lunch hour or was it after? No.
After I got off.
After he got off work, he would get off work, then he'd go to the gym, and then he would call me after he got home, got relaxed, and we would talk for hours. And then it got to where he would also start calling me on his lunch hour. Then he started calling me on Saturday mornings. And so it just went from there. And every single day for that whole year nearly, we talked on the phone, long distance. And we did take 2 trips together, one to Florida. They were both to Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 different times. And so it just went from there. And it just grew, just the phone conversations. By the time we went on our first vacation, we had talked so much on the phone, I felt like I knew everything there was to know about him. And he felt the same way about me. So it wasn't like, I didn't feel like I was going someplace with a stranger, because I really felt comfortable going because we had talked so much on the phone. So that was our beginning.
It was. And I normally don't open up to tell people. I was telling her things over the phone and had never had a relationship in person like we have now, that my children didn't even know. Because it just, that comfort level was there. It was connection from the beginning. It's like she said, we spoke every day, and we never got to that point where one waiting on the other one to say something. It was just it just comfort. It had a connection. And that's what you're looking for in a relationship. It's that connection where you feel comfortable, you can talk about anything and everything, and that honesty is there. You're not afraid that if I say this, it's gonna create some kind of feeling that she may think less of me. But you have that level of comfort where you can talk about anything and everything. Because some of the things I told her was not the kind of thing that you want everybody to know. And some people may look at it and say, hey, but if you feel that connection, you can do that. My first marriage was for 32 years. Betty's first marriage was for 32 years. And since we talked about everything before we ever got to the point where we even considered marriage, we both knew that. And there's something that you learn from being married for that long. You learn how to compromise. You learn what you're looking for, what you want. After you consider marriage again, you know what you're looking for, or what you expect, or what you would want from a mate. And, I personally had not planned to remarry again, but I didn't want to be by myself. I mean, you've been married for 30 years, you get to where you don't want to be a bachelor. I didn't want to be, but I didn't want to marry anybody either. So she was the right person.
And for me, yes, I was married 32 years, and both our spouses passed away. That's, which was a tragedy in its own. And I love being married. I loved being married. And my prayer was, Lord, you know what I need. And yes, I want another husband. I wasn't ready right then, but I want a husband. But my prayer was, Lord, but you're going to have to bring him to me. I'm not going to look for him. And I don't want somebody who is going to jump out of a closet on me and there's something, deep, dark secrets. I don't want, I was very specific in how I wanted, and, because I've always been told when you ask God, you better be specific with God. And I was very specific in everything that I asked him for in this husband, except I didn't ask that he lived in Michigan. So I had to move. I had to follow God's lead, and I had to move. But that's just how it was. But I prayed for a husband, and it took 5 years from the time my first husband passed to the date that I met him. And during that 5 years, I'm starting to tell myself, well, I was content. I was fine. If I don't get one, I don't get one, but I was content with where I was and what I had. And so I was okay with that. And when I met him, I think it was around Thanksgiving time, I had went out of town. And when I came back, the power had been off in the house. So all of my plants had died. And I was devastated because there was a plant that I had got when my first husband passed, one when my mom passed, one when my dad passed. And, I pampered and petted and babied those plants, and they meant so much to me. And one plant sat at the landing going up my stairs. And when I came back, and I'm so sad because my plants is gone, and I got to that landing, and that spirit said, stop looking back, and it's time to look forward. From that day, everything in my life changed. That's when I was talking to him, and I knew change had to come now, because that spirit spoke as clearly to me, and I will never forget that. That spirit spoke as clearly to me, and my prayer was answered.
When I first met Betty, she used to tell me, you got to stop telling everybody about our relationship, because I was just so overjoyed, and I was bragging about our relationship, and I was telling everybody, my brother, my cousin, anybody, my coworkers, and she's like, don't you think you're doing that too much? You remember?
Yes.
But I was just, it was a feeling I knew, and I don't know about other men, but I can, as a man, when you meet the right person. And she just complimented everything for me. And she made me complete. That's one thing that, because we are two different people, we both strong-willed it, and we both have a mind that she said I had to get in the last word, and I'm thinking she want to get in the last word, but because we care about one another, that's the thing that we never downgrade one another. I can't see how two people who care about one another is going to say something negative just to hurt them. We don't do that. And sometimes I just get quiet. She knows I'm upset because I won't say anything. But I'd rather not say anything than to say something that I shouldn't say. And because I care, I can do that. And that's, to me, in order for a relationship to work, you got to be willing to compromise. Because no two people are going to agree on everything. But if you care about one another, you don't go out of your way to hurt one another. You're not going to say something that you know is the only reason you were saying it to hurt that person. You don't do that. I mean, I can't see how you can do that when you actually love someone.
And I love to say to him when there's that little conflict, where I say, "You're going to make me stop talking to you." I love to say that to him. And then we kind of chuckle it off, but that's kind of how I'll just tell him, "You're going to make me stop talking to you." And,
But you rather not say, because
something hurtful.
people say words don't hurt, but they do.
They do.
And you can't take back something once she said it. Mm-hmm. And if you get to the point where you think you just want to say something that the other person don't want to hear, just don't say anything. And then when you cool off or when you think about it, then you can talk about it in a mature manner where you're not trying to hurt someone, or you saying something that the other person is going to hurt.
And another thing, you've always heard older people, the saying, never go to bed angry. You just don't do that. And that's so true, because we could be mad about something and I'll go in the back and be working on something and just leave him alone. He'll just leave me alone. But eventually, one of us is going to come to the other and let them know, okay, we either need to do this different, or I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but we do not go to bed.
And that's one thing with me.
Anything.
I don't mind saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was wrong. And if I, now, I'm not going to say I'm wrong or I don't think I'm wrong, but I will apologize if I done something that I feel like I shouldn't have done. Or I said something without talking to her about it in a way that we should have done. Mm-hmm. Being able to say, I'm sorry.
And being able to say, why are you snapping at me? What did I do? Because sometimes your mind is on one thing and, something might happen and you'll snap before you realize it. And yeah, we'll both do it. Well, why are you snapping at me? Why'd you say that like that? It's like, what happened? So yeah, you have to be able to correct, not belittle or anything like that, but you have to be able to, if you saying it wrong or if your mood is not right, I could say that to you. I should be able to, as long as I'm not attacking you, I should be able to say that to him and he should be able to say that to me.
You have to be able to communicate.
Yes. My first marriage, I could go to bed mad for a month and not care. That I would get angry. If I got angry, now he didn't get angry like that, but I would get angry about something. Don't talk to me for a month. Just stay away from me and leave me alone. I had to learn, do not. And that's one of the reasons, the first marriage made me the person that I am. Not that it was bad, but it made me better. The things that I did or learned, I learned not to go to bed angry, because I could die in my sleep, he could die in his sleep. And then then what? You're stuck with, oh my God, the last thing we've said was awful things to each other. And that's something you never want to carry. So yeah, it's important. Yeah, and I find myself, I will apologize, like I said, in a heartbeat, because I was very stubborn. And I had to learn how to give in and change and get better and want better. And, you know, and I've learned how to be better, a better wife and a better person.
And just to co-sign what she said, we both were married for 32 years. You learn from that. I mean, experience is the best teacher. It's something to be said about that. And it's what you want out of a marriage. You got to want for it to work.
Yes.
You got to care about the other person enough to where you want them to be happy too. You put their feelings, I put her feelings above mine all the time. I don't care what. And I can, even spending money, I would rather buy something for her than to buy something for myself. And I do that to a fault, I guess. Yeah. I'm a good old country boy, I guess you want to call it. And I was raised to where the man took care of everything. He paid for everything. I remember the very first time we went out and she bought me dinner. I was in shock. I'm like, you doing what? She said, this is on me. This is our anniversary. I think it was the anniversary of when we actually got engaged. It wasn't our engagement, but when I proposed to her. And she took me out and she bought me dinner. And I'm like, I'm not accustomed to somebody buying me dinner, you know. And she would get out in the yard and help me get on the lawnmower. And she was glad to get on the ride lawnmower and help me. I'm like, I ain't used to this, you know. But she got me to the point where I accept that. And that was something that I'm happy about, the fact that she does things for me that I'm not accustomed to. I was married for 32 years. And these are things that I just didn't expect.
I could never have expected to be loved the way David loves me. David loves when it's unconditional, so unconditional. The love David has for me and the love that I have for David. You know, yes, we loved each other enough to want to get married, but unintentional, I just did not expect it. It's like I find myself sometimes saying, why do I love this man so much? See, so it's like, I just love this man to death. You know, so that's kind of a more than what I expected. I mean, I'm more than happy with that. But yeah, that's one thing. And I don't know, and just his appreciation for the little things that I do because of who I am. The little things that I do, and he's just overjoyed and it's like, but why shouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I do this? But like the first time I washed his drawers and he couldn't believe it. He said, you washed my underwear? Yeah. Well, what am I to wash everything else? And not your underwear?
Well, she have told me some things as far as being able to save, you know, because I'm thrifty. My brother said need it, but I don't think so. I just don't throw away. And Betty says she have become
far more,
being able to save because of mine.
Because of how he spends, and it doesn't help that I don't have anywhere to go. I'm sorry. Small town, nowhere to go, can't spend like I would if I was in the city, but that's something that we can laugh about. I love that when you ask something unintended.
Exactly.
I won't forget the first time that David and he had come home from work and we were sitting down in the room back there. I was at my desk working on something. And he came and he sat down on the floor and we just started talking. And it was a bright, sunny evening, and we're laughing and we're talking. And before we looked around, it's like, oh, it's got dark. We need to close the curtains. And so, or the blinds. And we just find ourselves talking like that so much.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It's like he'll come in the room and I'm doing something and we'll just sit and start talking and about everything, life, family, work, past, laughing about things. I absolutely love that about our relationship.
Yeah, we have no
we
secrets.
talk.
We have no secrets. And I think that's one of the reasons why we was able to have the comfort level we did when we first started actually being able to be with one another, because we was on the phone for about a year. And that honesty was there. I didn't hold anything back. Everything I told her was the truth. I didn't feel like I had to, which that's not me anyway, but I don't feel like I had to pretend to be someone I'm not. Mm-hmm. And I never have felt that way.
See, and to speak to that, the honesty that we have with each other and us talking to each other so much. Now, his children are grown and adults. And I remember the first time his son called for something and he said, now don't tell daddy. I said, I want you to know, I tell your daddy everything. If you tell me, I'm going to tell your daddy. I don't keep secrets from him. So I let his kids know when they call me, now I'm going to tell your dad. So they know I'm going to be honest with them. I'm going to be honest with him. There will be no secrets, no sneaking up on him when it comes to his kids and whatever. And which that helps the relationship as well, having a good relationship with the kids. They're all adults. And I remember the first time his son called and had not even met me face to face, but I was Mama Betty. And that was such a good feeling. The grandkids, hey, Grandma, I'm Grandma. Even the very first time they met me, I was Grandma. And that makes a difference in a relationship when everybody can get along. And I thought that was pretty good. But he let me know one day, we sat here in the kitchen, him and his wife, they would come by. David at work, they come just to visit me. And he was telling me how much he appreciates me being in his dad's life. He just loves who he has become since I've been here and, just how happy I make him. And that makes me feel good to know that he's watching enough to know that I'm making his dad happy. And so that feels really good.
Yeah, because I used to go to the barber shop. You cut my hair since this COVID. But the guys at the barber shop told me that they didn't even realize that I had teeth. Says he's smiling now. He's smiling now. I didn't even know he had teeth.
He didn't even know he had teeth.
Because I'm always thought it was stern, and just. But after we got married and they would see me and I would be smiling. And they're like, I didn't know you had teeth. But it just.
That was even before we married. Yeah, just the fact that you had met me and talking about me all the time.
But I'm not one of those people that you see that's always grinning, and it just made me, I just was in a different state of mind.
There again, when we got married and his two kids came to the wedding and they kept saying, as we're taking pictures, they kept saying, is that my daddy over there smiling like that? Is that our daddy? They were so funny. They just got the biggest kick out of just watching how happy he was.
But I'm not mean. I just don't grin.
Not mean. It's just you don't smile, a lot. Yeah. Even when we take pictures, sometimes I have to whisper something in his ear to get him to smile. Because he don't always smile. But that's just him. It's not that he's mean or, in a mood. That's just him. Yeah. Well, first of all, you gotta have a relationship with the Lord, because you cannot just go into your day. You can't just jump out of bed, go into your day. You don't spend any time in prayer. You don't spend any time thanking God for not just what he's done for you, but just who he is and who he is in your life. You have to give him praises because he's the one that makes your day go the way it does. He's the one that brought us together, because there's no way this was absolutely a divine intervention. This would not have happened. It was planned. And as much as his sister likes to take credit for bringing us together, I said, no, you were just the instrument that was used to bring us together. This was meant to be. And so, yes, you got to have faith in God, because like I said, that was my prayer. And because my prayer was answered, so just everything that I was asking, everything came the way I had asked God. You have to bring it, and it has to come this way. Like I can tell God what to do, but I was letting him know what's in my heart, and you know what I want, and you know what I need. And yeah, and he brought in just the way, a man who loves me for me.
And for me, faith is having a relationship with God. I thank him every day for just having her in my life. I give thanks that he brought her into my life. And I thank him for being able to enjoy life again, because I had got to the point where, I was existing, going through the motions. I found myself working after hours on Saturdays. I was just doing stuff to keep me occupied so that I wouldn't be alone, but I used him as my support. I didn't go to drinking. I didn't get on drugs or take some type of medicine from the doctor to help me cope. It was through prayer, and when you have a burden that you can't carry, he can carry it for you.
And that's something we both had. It's like, I didn't want to do that. I kept saying, I'm going to deal with this, how I have to deal with this, whatever it takes. Even if I do cry for every single day for 5 years, which I did for 5 years until I met him. And that's what stopped me from crying every day. It was like, okay, there's a change. The change comes. And it was just waiting on God. And it don't come just because you want him to come right now. You have to wait on God.
And the thing is, I had, and living in a small town, so everybody knew me. I had a lot of women approaching me after my wife passed. Some of them didn't wait 2 weeks. But I was not looking for that. And, when I did, just got to the point to where I felt that I wanted to look for someone for a relationship. I prayed about it. And, I knew what I was looking for. And I was praying that God would provide me with someone that was looking for the same thing I was. Not somebody that just wanted to take advantage of you. Because that's one of the things that I think a lot of relationships start off where one person wants one thing, another person wants another, and then you're going to have a problem.
I'm so glad that I have David, because David's got my back no matter what. He's got my back. Even if I'm wrong about something, he's got my back first, but he's going to tell me about myself. But he's got my back, and which is good. And I don't know how I would cope with some things if I didn't have his support. And there's nothing better than just being able to just fall into his chest if I'm broken. And he's always got the right words to say. Because I've had some really broken times. And I just really trust what he's going to say and how he's going to say it, and just the way he will embrace me when I'm going through. There's nothing better than that. There's no support better than that.
And for me, it's natural. It's just so easy for me to be able to go to her about anything I'm having at work, I've had so many things happen at work that she tell me I would, she would just put her foot down. But being able to talk to her about it and to go to her and get her insight and be able to vent, to talk to somebody that we can talk to one another about anything and I don't have to worry about hearing about it somewhere else. I mean, we can talk about anything and we can be able to come to a conclusion as to how to handle things without thinking that if I tell her about it, it won't stay between the two of us. When we have conversations, these private conversations. And, it's not the kind of thing where you worried about if I tell him, or if I tell her, where it ended up that we talk to one another and it's to one another. And that, to me, that means a lot.
All of the things that we thought were coincidental, but they were,
part of the connection.
Part of the connection. Just part of the connection. Like our birthdays being a week apart and the number of years we had both been married and the number of days in which our spouses both passed before our anniversaries and everything was the same. And then my address was 480, and then I moved down here. Was 408. I moved down here, and my address is 480. It's like the same three numbers. I didn't have to change much. And then a huge thing was we went to Florida for our birthday celebrations because our birthdays are a week apart. So I got there a few days before him, but I had bought his birthday card in Michigan at a store in Michigan, and I mailed it to Alabama to him. So on my birthday, I get what I thought was his card coming back to me to my friend's house, which I was totally confused because I'm like, this is the card I sent to him. Why is it coming here? Well, it was the card he sent to me that he bought in Alabama and sent it to my friend's house, the same exact birthday card.
We even signed it the same. And the only difference was the names.
Yeah, that's all that was different. So we thought that was just so. And so because of that, we framed those cards because it just meant so much that how do we buy each other the same exact cards in two different states? But I was totally confused. Yes. So here and there we are. There's my card, his card, the front of my card, the inside of his card, but they're exactly the same. So we bought the same card and we loved that. And when we tell that story to people, so many people say, well, what did that card say? It said just what we needed it to say.
So remember, stay connected.
Stay in love.
And we'll see you next time.